live on YouTube. And here's the thing about YouTube. A lot of times when I upload the video, it cuts out half the video. So that's why I've preferred not to do live. But I think it's very important that we do live because we are talking about what is going to take place tonight in the presidential debate. Now, we're talking about Donald Trump, who is a seasoned politician who has been through many debates. As you know, the several debates that he went through with Hillary Clinton when he won the 2016 election. He's also been through all of the debates with Joe Biden, and he was so good at Joe Biden being senile and Trump just being himself that he completely eliminated Joe Biden from the presidential race. It was such a catastrophe that they did the swaparoo and swapped President Biden for Harris with no electoral delegates pledged to her. There was no primary. There was no chance for a third party or even a Democrat to run against her. So she won 0 delegates by running. It was a huge switcheroo, and everyone just completely started worshiping the woman who could barely put together a sentence, and everyone kind of didn't like a few weeks prior. So what does this mean for the future of the Democratic Party? Well, it's probably going to be, because of their ideology, they're probably going to try to elect 3 or 4 women before a woman actually becomes president. Not because the fact that she's a woman, but because the fact that her policies are so bad, and she hasn't even had anything on her website that describes her policy. She was against fracking, then she was for fracking. She was against private health insurance, and then she's for private health insurance. And if you don't know, communist countries, I've lived in several. When I was a teenager, I lived in Belize with no private health care. If you get a broken arm, you're on your own, kid. If you get a spleen that explodes, you're on your own, kid. I remember I broke my toe when I was a teenager after living in Belize. I went to the hospital bed and there was nothing, no medicine, nothing. There was a guy who was next to me who was like 75 years old dying. And they can't do anything because the country will not allow them to import because they are anti-capitalist. And then the only way that a socialized healthcare system works is to destroy private insurance. So the private insurance is actually something that keeps the blood of this country and the blood life of this country going because of all the jobs it creates. Now, I know what you're saying. You know, there's a lot of young people who can't afford health insurance. But in the reality, if you're young and healthy and you break your arm because you got hit by a car, chances are the most you're going to walk out there with is $2,000 medical bill. And that's something you can pay off in payments. The government doesn't even prosecute you for medical bills, although it's very good to have them paid up because of your credit score. So it's important things like that. Everyone that I know that supports Kamala Harris has not looked into the issues. Everyone who votes Republican is very, very into the issues. I would say that the Republican voter is much more educated because even if you're an independent, you are still watching YouTube, and YouTube is so pro-MAGA and so pro-Trump. Even Joe Rogan has nice things to say about the guy and everyone else, even his enemies. So, you know, I just saw an ad where Barack Obama was making fun of Trump's D size and this message when he was talking about crowds. And it's like, I've never seen professional politicians stoop so low to make a point that is only to a selective group of voters who are just uneducated, only have 5 minutes per the news each week. And so many voters just don't know where all this inflation is coming from and where all of these decisions that politicians make that affect our lives. Kamala Harris wants to do price controls, which would completely cripple the economy. Because if you don't know this, after I've worked in a grocery store too when I was younger, the corporations that, you know, are evil, according to Democrats, have to pay for their cargo all at once. A lot of these people who bring in cargo to these stores, they are independent contractors. So they're paying for the load of merchandise, and they're also paying the trucker for his time and his services. So what happens when gas prices go up? As you know, the prices of groceries go up because the driver has to charge more for the load to pay for himself to stay alive, and then the store has to pay more for the same groceries, and that's why grocery store prices go up. It all has to do with the price of fuel. So when you have Democrats who are basically have an appeasement strategy where they buy fuel from our adversaries, kind of like to pay them off, like, hey, please don't attack us, it's going to leave grocery bills super high. So the same people who wanted us, the Biden administration wanted us to get off of fossil fuels, and Kamala Harris, who's against fracking, are the same ones who are wanting communist price controls in America. And no, you cannot raise meat and eggs, past this price, because the capitalist society that we live in will not have motivation to put those items on the shelf. So they will no longer order the items, and then guess who loses jobs? The manufacturers, the truck drivers, because they're not being able to bring their products to market, because no grocery store in America is going to sell something at a loss, and they're definitely not going to sell, a dozen eggs and make 10 cents off of it. They need to have the structure of capitalism, which is the profit structure. And if it's as far as raising wages, that's also something that the free market dictates. So I would say that it's going to crash and burn, because anyone who's lived in Cuba, like, they're trying to get the Hispanic vote, and they, imported, God knows, 20 million, immigrants the last 3.5 years. And they're trying to get the vote of the Latinos, and all the Latinos fled communist countries to come to America where there's freedom. So they're not going to vote for price controls. Only the uneducated voter will think that that's a good idea, and not realizing that the entire thing was an appeasement strategy that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did to win over the favor of our adversaries, so they will not attack us, basically. So buying foreign oil has been a political strategy. Now, price controls will raise grocery prices in certain sectors, because the stores will have to make their money somehow, and they will raise prices that the price controls are not on in order to coop their losses. So it's going to be a very, very interesting, I would say, process to see the look on her face when the general electorate will not accept her ideas. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. And when you watch the debate tonight, just remember, we cannot bring communism into this country. Have a great night, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.